Hi, this video is about how to use ChatGPT to do philosophy. So the short answer is ChatGPT um, is not the best tool for doing philosophy. You should use Google Gemini, and you should use Google Gemini with a long prompt that I prepared. So you just save this prompt as a PDF file, you attach it to Google Gemini, you type in, apply the prompt that I created, Lighthouse Library, to the article that you want to analyze, like, I don't know, the simulation hypothesis. And you tell it to output in a format that you can easily output to video overview in Notebook LM. And then you watch the video overview in Notebook LM, and if you like it, you read the output. So this is the output that it will generate. It's quite long. You click on the copy button, and then you go to markdownlivepreview.com, markdownlivepreview.com, and you paste it into Markdown Live Preview, and then you copy the output that it generates. So you just copy the whole thing, copy, then you paste it into LibreOffice, and then you replace all of the BR with new lines, checking this box regular expressions, and then you create a format that's easy to read. And then you'll get something that looks like this. So the output consists of three parts. It consists of a tabular analysis of the argument with context. Then it consists of a Socratic dialogue that critiques and improves upon the original argument. And then it consists of a synthesis that's very interesting, in which a new argument is forged that is more beautiful, more virtuous, and more necessarily true than the original argument. So you can apply it to the Bostrom's simulation hypothesis. Remember what the simulation hypothesis is? It came about in 2003. It's been thought about by thinkers like Plato and Descartes, the evil demon hypothesis and the Plato's cave argument. And in recent times, Bostrom has come up with it, and people like Robin Hanson have talked about how you want to make the simulation more interesting so that the people who are doing the simulation will be more motivated to carry on the simulation for your particular simulated case. So it situates the argument where it stands in the context of human thought, tells you what is the standard for truth, what is the goal of the argument. So that, remember what the hypothesis is: either you go extinct before you reach the ability to create simulations of consciousness, or you don't want to create simulations for consciousness, or you live in a simulation. It identifies hidden assumptions. So I think one of the main assumptions here is that consciousness can be computed. Is that known for a fact? It's very plausible, but it's not established, as it's still an open question whether you can simulate consciousness. Tells you what the salvageable assets are, even if this argument is not true. Tells you what the meaning of terms are, like post-human or ancestor simulation, gives you two examples for each term that it tries to define, and then looks at how those two examples are related to each other, what they have in common, so that you have a better understanding of the general form without looking at a particular instance, by using the instances to come to the conclusion of what the form is. Uh, so it's got good definitions. It tells you the etymology of the word in the particular context. So it defines for you, it tells you the context of the argument. It subjects the argument to a dialectic, uh, counter replies, replies to counter replies. It identifies vulnerabilities in the argument. So the argument is not proven that the hard problem of consciousness can be solved. For example, there's a catastrophic weakness. Suggests patches, like the view that maybe uh, Maybe the view shouldn't be that this is what reality is. It's not a metaphysical claim. It's just a claim about what you should believe. It's a claim about epistemology rather than a claim about metaphysics. Uh, it it then tells you uh, where the argument is situated in terms of its relation to other books. So some of these sources are fictional, some of these sources are real. Most of these sources are actually real. Bostrom, Chalmers, Elon Musk. Some of these, I think one of them I saw, I looked it up and it's not real, but you have, if you look up why I'm not a simulation realist, you have a whole lot of replies that are interesting. Some of them, not all of them. So you can follow these leads, and definitely you'll be led to interesting ideas. Even if the references, you have to check the references whether they actually exist. Though many of them do exist. Many of these, like I wouldn't say 90%, but maybe 80% of these actually are real sources. As memory gets better in the AI and it hallucinates less, maybe these references will be better. But it gives you very good suggestions for what you should write, even if these references don't exist. Yeah, you could write a paper that says why I'm not a simulation realist, uh, or you could instruct this Lighthouse library to come up with reasons for why you're not a simulation realist, and I'm sure that you get interesting output. Uh, so it gives you cultural artifacts also, like video games, films, novels, uh, and then it evaluates the argument according to whether it is beautiful and virtuous. So beauty is understood in terms of 8 qualities of beauty that I got from Daniel Waxman's paper, Is Mathematics Unreasonably Effective, in which he lists 8 qualities of beauty in terms of whether it is concise, consistent, and complete. Whether it's unified, elegant, easy to understand. Does it explain things well? Is it general? Is it surprising, fruitful? Does it discover things without experiment, but in principle later can be verified by experiment? Yeah, so uh, truth and beauty are very much very correlated. So if it's beautiful, then it's a high chance that it may be true. Yeah, but it doesn't just look at beauty. Yeah, of course, it also tells you what are the vulnerabilities that it has and how to patch them. And it does the same thing for virtue. So it tells you whether the argument is virtuous. So in this case, it doesn't lead to a lot of perseverance, zest, love, or kindness. So it's got some limitation. But it leads to a lot of temperance and humility. So uh, yeah, it tells you what the strengths and weaknesses of the argument are. And then it creates a very interesting Socratic dialogue in a place called the Lighthouse Library, which is a library that's built into a cliff overlooking an ocean. And the ocean and the storms are synchronized with the state of the argument. So when the argument is very tense, the storm is very harsh. And when the argument comes to a conclusion, you get very the storm subsides, and so it's interesting to read, and you can tell where you are in the argument by following the setting. It start off by telling a human story, by telling you how they feel about the argument. There's a character called Skepticus, which represents the voice of skepticism. There's Aletheia, which is the voice of logic. Praxis, the voice of virtue, and Poesis, the voice of beauty. And they debate the argument. They look at its vulnerabilities. They look at the patches that can be applied. They apply the patches. Um, they talk about which patches are keystone patches, which vulnerabilities are keystone vulnerabilities, which, if resolved, would resolve a lot of other vulnerabilities as well. Uh, they they then talk about which patches are the best patches to resolve the keystone vulnerability. Then they apply the proposed patches into a reforge argument, which has more beautiful, more virtuous, and more logically sound than the original argument. They evaluate the new argument in terms of its beauty and its virtue. They talk about uh, new tensions that are or outstanding tensions that are not resolved. So I think these are quite minor. I could create a column that says how significant these are, but I don't think they are very significant, these two they identified. I think what I reforged is pretty good. So if you're interested, you can read the output and you can see what is the new argument in the simulation hypothesis. I'll just tell you briefly what it is. So briefly, what it is uh, um, two things. One is it's not a claim about metaphysics, it's a claim about epistemology. And second, even if reality is simulated, because it's so high fidelity, it's so close to reality, therefore, it should be treated with the same seriousness as actual reality, and it shouldn't be seen as a inferior substitute, but a actual uh, um, dignified peer. So, if you're interested, you can read the rest of the argument that he generated. He's got 5 exercises for appreciating the reforged argument. So you can appreciate humility and elegance, teamwork and fruitfulness, kindness and unification, wisdom and elegance, transcendence, perspective, and surprisingness. Perspective shift, you can. Here's a quote by Sagan. Look at that dot, that's home, that's us. The effect of the simulation argument is to provide a profound shift in perspective. The application is to look at the night sky for 5 minutes, contemplate that you are, uh, whether you're in a simulation or not, is very realistic. And you can ask how the cosmic perspective of how much is simulated affects your daily concerns and worries. So it's got some suggestions of what you can do to appreciate the argument in different ways. It's got some hypotheses that are testable, whether it can lead to a glitch, whether it has implications for SETI. So you can read this, or you can read the peer review that it generated, simulating David Chalmers' review, an expert perspective on the reforged argument and a commentary on the process. And then you can read the generated prompt that it asks itself to improve. So you can ask not are you in a simulation, but is a simulation a good thing? What is its function as art, as education, or for the purpose of generating beauty and virtue? So the argument is that if you can simulate life, you should, because that increases the net utility that's appreciated. So you can copy paste this into Gemini and regenerate it and see what you get, and it gets more interesting. So you can do philosophy. You can definitely do philosophy with Gemini, just that you have to prompt it in the right way in order to come up with thought-provoking and uh, meaningful ideas. So the groundwork for the virtues is based on Martin Seligman's work on character strengths and virtues in action, which is based on a analysis of the virtues that are universal to Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Confucianism, Greek philosophy. What do they have in common? But it has persisted across time, and that has been systematically classified into 24 character strengths, falling under 6 virtues. So wisdom and courage. Uh, Whether you know how to apply it and whether you do apply it, humanity and justice, uh, temperance and transcendence. So it's a very powerful framework. Whether you have a heart for others, whether you're responsible to society, whether you are temperate, and whether you transcend. So it's based on solid groundwork on beauty and virtue, which I'm not going to say is objectively true, but I'm going to say that in the terms of Mill's good judges of what counts as good standards for truth. This gets very close. It points in the right direction much of the time. It's a useful compass. So even if you don't hit the North Pole, you get really close, and you can iterate this process You can submit the reforge argument back into the Lighthouse library analysis again. And in this process of intellectual alchemy, you can transmute lead into gold. And you can get a better appreciation for ideas. So I hope you find this useful. And I would like to hear suggestions on how I can make this thing better. So I thought of a few suggestions. I'll just briefly summarize what are the things that I can change for the next version. So I was thinking that uh, this statement here on uh, uh, discovery by theory alone, I can define it to be not that it is not that it is later confirmed, but that in principle it could be later confirmed. Because things like the Kac-Erdős theorem require so much computational power, it's still not confirmed computationally, but we believe in future it will be confirmed. So I could change that and add that one word. I think the vulnerabilities also I could add a column that says how logically necessary are these vulnerabilities. And I think there's one more thing that I made note of in a separate video log, which I don't recall at this moment. But it's a work in progress. It's not perfect. It's got lots of room for improvement. But as it is, it's very useful. So I hope if you're doing philosophy and you want to use ChatGPT, consider using Google Gemini in this prompt. I hope it's useful to you. I love to hear how you have used it, and if you've got any suggestions for improvement, I'm very open to suggestions. So thank you very much for watching. How do you end this? Control Search Shift X. Control Search X. Control Shift X. Oh. Oh yeah, so if you are interested, you can look on the link to the Internet Archive to get the latest version of this. And these are the instructions for how to use it. Yeah. Search Shift X. Okay. That's all from me. Thank you for your interest.